Hello again.
Hello.
I hope everyone had a chance to relax. In my talk, I actually got to the point where we were just about to go on about share in Greece, the experience of share in Greece, and I was going to pontificate on various aspects of why it proceeded as it did, the problems, what could be better, what could be worse. Now, but before I do that, I thought it was a good idea if we had an experience for someone who has had a talk from someone who has direct experience of conducting share. So with us is Viki who's who works at Kappa Research, which is the survey organization that has that conducts share in Greece, and she has prepared 3 or 4 very actual examples of the sort of problems that they encountered, practical problems, when posing questions of shares, and some are quite funny, some make you think, and I'm sure that when you go out to the field in Egypt, you'll find many more this type of attribute. So Viki Asimakopoulou is with us, and she will talk for about 20 minutes. Can she share her her screen, because she has prepared a presentation?
Yes, Dr.
Okay.
Viki can share her screen.
Fine. So Viki.
Unmute me. Okay. Hello. Thank you very much for inviting me to your training session. I'm really glad, and it's an honor to be here with you. Actually, SARE is one of the best projects that I'm involved since 2003-04, some time ago. I mean, a long time ago. I was young then, and now in some years I will be eligible for participating in SARE. So let me see if you can see my screen. So could someone please confirm that you can see the first slide saying anecdotes from the field?
Yeah. Yes, we can see your presentation clearly.
Thank you very much. So let me share with you our experience in implementing in Greece the survey of health, aging, and retirement in Europe. So some anecdotes, as Platon said, from the field. The first wave of SARE took place in 2004, a great year for Greece. You see, the Olympic Games were organized by Greece, the Greek for the first time, and Kappa Research was about to run SARE. Kappa Research is considered to be one of the leading survey organizations in Greece since 1999 and operates in Eastern Europe and the wider Mediterranean region. I had the pleasure to work in Kappa Research almost half of my life. So let's go back to 2004. Despite our experience, we had to overcome some obstacles. There was no registered directories to locate 50+ population. The National Statistical Service was unable at the moment to help us. Probably said something like, it's impossible to have that survey in Greece right now with all the sample requirements. We had, so we still have a large number of islands and mountain villages with difficult road network. Laptops were used for the first time for face-to-face interviews. Not all interviews were familiar with the use of it. Not really a problem, but SARE protocols needed to be followed strictly. I will get back to that later on. So in close cooperation with SARE, we found the solutions and succeeded in conducting the first wave. And since then, we have run all the waves So is harmonization. And mainly in most of the surveys that they use a common questionnaire around the world to have comparable results, it's the main philosophy. So what about harmonization? Harmonization is, concerns about asking the same questions with exactly the same way, use the same standardized measures, and collect data in the same time frame. Sometimes that it's okay, we can do it, but some other times there are difficulties. So during the training of first wave, it was the first wave of SHARE, we had a big discussion about the interviewers having to ask the questions exactly as were written concerning the harmonization. It should be done. The Greek interviewers learned to follow these principles despite their, let's say, I don't know, complaints. In the section of questionnaire for children, the interviewer asks if, let's say, George is male or female. How about asking children's gender in Crete? Crete is the largest and most populous island in Greece and the fifth largest in the Mediterranean. Anoia, as you can see at the picture below, is a village in central Crete at the foot of Siluritis mountain, where people still highly respect tradition and vendetta. Vendetta means a blood hatred which the family of a murdered person seeks vengeance on the murderer or the murderer's family. And that's still going on in Crete, unfortunately. In the Greek language, it's certain when hearing a first name, if someone is female or male, you see we use different articles and pronouns for its gender. So it's clear. So imagine now that the interviewer or you are visiting a household in a Anoia village and asking the head of the household, not the guy right there at the left with the knife at his belt, but the other one, let's say at the right, if Manolios, which is a typical local name, male name, is male or female. The proud you call my son a girl. You see, that was really a great fear of some interviewers in Crete. And I totally understand the anxiety of an interviewer when asking a respondent questions that maybe make him uncomfortable or whatever. So try not to care so much about this, because what you do is a job and you have to be professionals. So instead of be anxious of losing a respondent during an interview, you could use a phrase in front and let's say, start with, I'm sure that George is not a girl, sorry, but I have to ask these questions. We have to ask the same questions all over Europe, all over country, in order to have comparable data. Or you have to use other excuses like or reasons why you should stick to the questionnaire. It's important to know that if you believe in the survey, then the respondent and the person that listens to you will believe also. So I'm a true believer of the purpose of Survey for Health, Aging and Retirement. And I think everyone should be. Without data, we don't exist. I'm Viki, and I would love to meet you all and know your names, perhaps another time. But for politicians or for I don't know, strategy makers, we don't exist by names or by personalities. We exist by numbers. Let's continue to another story from our experience in the fieldwork of the resurrection of the granny, one of my favorites one. After screening was complete, an interviewer called an eligible household and asked for a member above 50 years old. That was in a village species, and asked who is calling, how he found the number, and what he wants. So the interviewer gave all the info, and the granddaughter said that her grandmother passed away and no one else above 50 years old lives there. The interviewer decided to call back because he knew that there so he was asking, said, yes, of course. The surprise of the interviewer, all with her granddaughter. She laughed. Excuse me, is there a question? I can hear someone. Probably not. The grandmother laughed and accepted to participate in the survey. Another similar story happened in a follow-up wave some years later, because it's a panel survey for us in Greece and in Europe now. We follow the respondents as they grow up. And an interviewer some years later called again, and another respondent told the interviewer that respondent X has died. Days later, when the interviewer was calling for a proxy for an end-of-life interview, an interview that a relative can conduct, giving some details for the life of the person that died, or the last year of his life, then he found out by the daughter of the respondent X that the respondent X was alive. The respondent X lied because he didn't want to participate again. So the moral lesson, let's say more, is to make many contacts with the household. So contact the household many times during the fieldwork, at different times of the day, on different days of the week. You never know, but you'll find out. Don't forget to keep detailed contact files in case you recontact the household later, or in case another interviewer has to contact the household for you. And here we come at almost the last story. Member of a gang of thieves in a village. In a small village in North Greece, an old couple saw an unknown weird woman checking the houses. And of course, they called the police because they thought that a gang would rob them or some other houses in the village. The police came and the interviewer explained why she was there. So to the police, her ID card, advance letter, everything. The couple felt frustrated, apologized to the interviewer, and of course agreed to participate. And to apologize, they invited her to eat with them something at their place. What we learn by this? In order to gain cooperation, we have to be professional and look like one. Wear or carry a card with your photo, if possible, name and ID number, a contact card with your details, the name and phone of the survey agency, if you have one, or the university, to leave to the household in case no one answers the door, to call you back. And perhaps an information letter about the survey. Communicate that you are a professional interviewer, represent an organization or university, collect data that are valuable for scientific research and social study, and the participation in the research is voluntary and valuable to its success. Be prepared, get familiar with the content of the survey, and please write down your own introduction. As I said before, we are numbers, or those that love numbers, but we are individuals and we are special, each one of us. So if I say something that, of course, follows the principles or the rules that I have to follow about the intro, but if I write it down, it's like believing in it more, and if I use this one to introduce myself in the survey, the possibilities to convince someone grow bigger. So let's see our final story of the field. A doctor asking a favor. An interviewer visited a household in the city of Ioannina, in North Greece. A doctor, about 50 years old, opened the door, and after listening to the interviewer about Sarah, said that he will let her know if he will participate. After cross-checking the info, he called her back and asked for a favor. Strange. He requested information and some photos of the building compounds, the Hypatia mentioned, as you can see in the middle picture. The interviewer, after contacting with the survey agency, yes, sent some photos. Sometimes we have to listen and really listen what the respondent says, and we should gain the cooperation by coming closer to him in a way, listen and understand what your need is or what your excuse is for not participating. So this is active listening for gaining cooperation. Listening and communication with the respondent during personal contact is difficult. You need to present the research, then listen to them. At the same time, think about their answer and the answer you're going to give back. You need to be prepared to process your communication strategy according to each respondent, the target group of the respondent. If it's a very old, has different needs. If he works, different needs or concerns. Be prepared to explain to them why and how they, the specific respondent, is important. Be prepared to listen to respondents' concerns and be able to answer them in such a way that they are confident that you have given them the importance needed. So let's say, I'll give an example. You go outside of a house and there is a dog there. And the possible respondent or the person that lives there comes outside and you see the dog and say, oh, how nice, you have a nice dog there. I love dogs. You start with a common interest, the conversation that you have to start with the person. You have more chances to see you like a person, not someone. That's the stories of the field for having here. And also I would like to ask if you have something to question or whatever you need to know or to help you in any way to succeed in your difficult but very nice project that you're going to
run. Thank you, Viki. It's Platon. Users, especially academic users for statistics, think that God gives statistics out, and it's easy to forget that it's actually the statistics are collected by people, and good collection of statistics, that the sort of stories that Viki told you, the way that you ultimately get good data. And another thing which you didn't mention, which I can mention, is that there's people are, especially old people, I'm sure it's the same and possibly worse in Egypt than it is in Greece, are very happy to talk about their families, their grandchildren, their doctors, the medicines they take. I mean, they can keep the interviewers for hours, but they don't like talking about their economics at all. And the problem with SHARE is that because it's an interdisciplinary survey, and because I'm an economist and we need our data, you have to be very persistent.
You're absolutely right in that point. In most of the surveys, people don't like to talk about their economics, their income, their salary, or whatever. But as I like to say, and I learned through the process of those years with SARE, is that there are many realities. There is the reality of the person in the household, the respondent. There is the reality of the interviewer. There is the reality of the researcher or the survey agency. There is the reality of you, the real researchers and statistics. And I mean, there is also the reality of government, politicians, and those who are ruling our lives in a way. I don't know, the gold rule for success in this process is to keep the truth and build bridges, strong bridges amongst those realities. You need to put down in the questionnaire the reality of the household. You need to know the difficulties of the interviewers approaching the household and writing down the truth, and also of the survey agency organizing these difficulties, also the universities that are involved and all the professors, all of this together. It's it's the total golden ticket for the success.
Yeah.
That's what I have to share. And of course, I should say again, good luck, do your best, and you'll have the best data, because no data is bad. Data are better. Good data, perfect. Good luck.
Right. I think, thanks a lot, Viki. But if you don't want to stay, we can disengage you, and I can get back to the more academic stuff. But it's just as well to remember that a survey is something that requires the whole sort of chain of production. And it's not enough to have a perfect questionnaire, to have a Nobel Prize winning researchers, but you need to have the idea of the survey. It needs to be understood by the reviewer, the people setting the questions, and they need to communicate it to the people responding, because ultimately you're asking people to devote something more than an hour and a half, or maybe 5 hours of their time, up to 5 hours of their time. Giving very intimate details about their lives, so they have to believe in what they're doing is a useful thing. It's a useful for themselves, for other people like them, and it will plug into some bigger issue. So it's not just that you don't want a machine reading out questions, even though it's sometimes given the impression that it is, because all of the standardization, etc. But ultimately, it's the respondent that have to go there and look the person in the eye, and they have to connect. If they connect, you get good data. If they don't connect, you get rubbish. Okay.
I have a question about.
Yeah.
I'm sorry that there is a problem in network here, but my question is about questions on income. Do you have any problems in collecting data about income? Because we have this, and Hisham, Dr. Hisham, many times asked me this question. So
it's one of the most, because it's not only income, all things to do with finances, property, houses, pensions, you name it. People, they think that you come from the tax people, and that you will communicate stuff. So it is important for the way the sequence of the questions is important. It's best to ask questions on health, etc., because people want to talk about health, and then to come back later. But on the other hand, there is a trade-off, because when you start asking a difficult question when people are tired, they might give up. Now, the SHARE, as you know, has these questions which are open. When somebody refuses, then you keep coming back and back, and in places like Crete that Viki mentioned, there have been cases of people being threatened with guns. He said, if you keep asking about income, I'll shoot you, or I'll start beating you up. And of course, with this CAPI questionnaire, you have to follow the line of the questioning. Yeah. So you have to be very persistent. The question is, how is to appeal to some higher authority, saying, it's not me who is asking the question. These questions are necessary because for people's pensions to be improved or whatever. But this is a question. The reluctance to give financial information is common across the survey. It's less common, of course, in all declare all their income, and Europe and in the East, it's a perennial problem. And well, you have to do. You can't avoid it. You can't skip it altogether because it's a very important aspect. But at the same time, it's unavoidable that there will be a lot of missing values. The people in central share, they devote a lot of time in imputations. Imputations is a statistical process whereby you essentially saying, I have my cat Ratister here next to me, and they note in the survey that people have cats like Ratister tend to have income over a certain amount. So when noting that I have Ratister, then they impute my income as similar to people who have similar types of cat. Yeah. Which, if you see it in mathematics, looks very scientific, but ultimately it's just inventing data. It's not something that will happen only in Egypt. It happens everywhere. So you just have to be, there's his tail. You just have to live with it.
Yeah, may I just ask you a question? Because Dr. Ramadan said that I was negative about that.
I wait until you ask, but you didn't.
The question, for me, what is the rate of unresponse in your sample for this economical part? Because I think it will be at least important for us to know, because we are expecting it. This is number one.
The thing about this is getting into the deep stuff on survey methodology. The thing about share is that it keeps all this metadata, so it is possible to always go back to the original data. So you find the item non-response on particular questions, and then there's this process of imputation. There's 5 different estimates, imputation, which you can use or not. And if you look in the share website, you can't find the information on the item non-response on all questions. And of course, the financial questions are always, I'm not ready to answer exactly, but they have the non-response is very high.
Yeah, but because I think, can we even change the sequence of questions? Sometimes when we have, difficult question to ask, we did that in child abuse, women abuse, or
sure.
Then we just keep it to the end or go back to it, because sometimes this is one of the solutions. You get maybe more response from people when you get them, get more trust on them, when you start to have some examination and things, and you feel that you are serious about what you are doing, then they start to be more easy.
The problem, there is a trade-off. If you leave it to the end, people are tired and they don't want to carry on. If you put it at the beginning, you risk blowing up the whole interview.
The beginning is difficult because you will lose.
Right? Yes, they'll just show you the door. And the problem with share, and this is a question to do with the governance. There is the questionnaire is decided by, and the larger share becomes the more difficult it is to affect these. When share was a survey of 12 countries, the people working for the country teams, like myself, of affecting the structure of the questionnaire and the sequence of the questions and the way the questions are put, etc. But now the share is becoming a much larger organization, and as a result, this a constant issue and in share is this tension between the decisions which are taken at the center. So typically taken by the questionnaire board. Questionnaire board would be, for example, on social networks, there would be 4 or 5 people, sociologists, etc., who have worked extensively in social networks, and they will come up with the questions on social networks and the family, and in the end we will get to know them in the country teams, but we get to know them at the stage. So what you mentioned now is a very is a real issue, but it's very often the cultural context are ruled out by the necessity to have of uniformity. So this, there's the cost-benefit analysis. So uniformity and comparability are good in some way, in some senses, but they create problems in other. And is the governance of a very large thing such as share, which the way the governance, the way decisions are taken, and decisions large or small about the wording of a particular question, or what to do with imputations, or whether to include a new section on X, Y, or Z. These have to be taken, and they have to be taken in a way that allows some voice for all participants, but at the same time safeguards the key features of the survey, comparability, etc. A survey which is science-driven, such as share, is theoretically more open than than many of the surveys which are run by statistical services, such as the survey of income, living conditions, or household expenditure, or labor force surveys, which are surveys there's a legal obligation to complete them. And in those cases where there's a legal obligation, that you can't affect the decision because it's written down in law. It's one of the reasons why you're going through this business of a pilot is essentially to pinpoint such things. So, for example, if you see that there's a big problem, the fall off in participation according to when you answer, you set the financial question, this is something to flag, because you are at a stage when they can still that the questionnaire can still be affected. And secondly, I was just wondering, have you produced a complete, a new Arabic translation of the questionnaire, or did you use the existing one? Because there is an Arabic version of the survey questionnaire which is used in Israel, but that, of course, would be Palestinian Arabic, not Egyptian. Fine. In the remainder of my talk, I'll touch on some of the issues that we just mentioned now, and I'll just share my screen once again.
Before Platon,
We are
before-
waiting
bef-
for May. We are
Sorry?
waiting for May now. Okay, go ahead, go ahead.
Yeah,
Uh, Before I leave you, because I will leave you now, I would like just to add something concerning the income and all those questions. It's important to let them know that we don't have their personal data connected with the data, the answers they give. It's always important to, in the moment where they hesitate to answer to a question for economics, just to repeat that your participation is voluntary, but also the data are anonymized. We will not connect them. It's not you who answers, many people that they answer together, and we analyze them all together. It's important to feel secure